Welcome to today's explainer. We're going to completely flip the script on how you view stress, anxiety, and burnout. If you've ever felt totally overwhelmed, like the world is literally out to get you, well, prepare for a massive paradigm shift. We're going to uncover where your suffering truly comes from. And spoiler alert, it is probably not what you think. Okay, let's dive right into this. What external events, or maybe what people, make you angry or stressed? Really think about it for a second. Is it your job? Bumper to bumper traffic? Maybe a specific person in your life? We naturally assume that these external triggers are the absolute root cause of our frustration, right? But what if they aren't? This brings us to a really foundational idea. The Buddha famously said that the first arrow is the painful event. You know, the traffic jam, a rude comment, losing a really important file. We can't always control that first arrow. But that second arrow, that's our internal reaction. That is the actual suffering. And honestly, the absolute most empowering thing you can realize today is that the second arrow is entirely optional. So, part one, the root of all suffering, highlighted by the Zen parable of the empty boat. To really grasp how we shoot that second arrow at ourselves, we're drawing insights directly from Joseph Nguyen's transformative book, Don't Believe Everything You Think. It's an absolutely incredible guide to understanding how our minds construct our reality, literally from the inside out. Let's set the scene here. Imagine a young Zen monk who is absolutely desperate for some peace and quiet. He gets so frustrated by all the noises and endless distractions at his monastery that he decides to row a boat out into the exact middle of a vast, quiet lake to meditate. Finally, perfect serenity. He closes his eyes and meditates peacefully for hours. But then, thud, his boat violently rocks. Another boat has crashed right into him. Instantly, his fury ignites. He clenches his fists, totally preparing to scream at the careless, thoughtless person who just completely ruined his perfect, hard-earned peace. But when he stands up to unleash his rage, he sees the boat is completely empty. It had just drifted on the wind. Instantly, his anger completely vanishes. Why? Well, because there was no one to be angry at. The anger didn't come from the physical bump at all. It came entirely from his own internal reaction. His interpretation of the event. The event itself was literally just an empty boat. Moving into section 2, thoughts versus thinking, and the crucial paradigm shift we need to make. Since our perception creates our reality, just like it did for the monk, we absolutely have to understand the vital difference between having thoughts and actively thinking. Let's define these clearly. Thoughts, with a capital T, are the energetic mental raw materials from the universe. They occur completely effortlessly. Think of them as spontaneous ideas, inspirations, or little flashes of insight that just pop into your head out of nowhere. You weren't forcing them, they just arrive on their own. Thinking, on the other hand, is a verb. It's the act of actively engaging with, judging, or criticizing those initial thoughts. Thinking actually requires intense effort and willpower. It's basically your ego stepping in to analyze, doubt, and kind of tear apart the raw material of your natural thoughts. And this brilliantly illustrates the direct contrast between these two mental states. Just look at the stark contrasts. Thoughts come from the universe. They're creative, infinite, and they make you feel incredibly alive. Thinking, though, comes from the ego. It's destructive, it's limited, and it makes you feel stressed. So it's not our thoughts that cause suffering, it's the absolutely exhausting act of thinking about our thoughts. Imagine a sort of thoughtometer in your brain, like a speedometer that measures thoughts per minute. The intensity of any negative emotion you feel is actually directly proportional to how much active thinking you're doing. When you're stressed, anxious, or completely burned out, your thoughtometer is literally redlining. It's not necessarily the content of your problem that's the issue, it's the simple fact that you are thinking so hard about it. All right, on to section 3, how to stop thinking, or clearing the dirty water. So if active thinking is the root of our suffering, how do we actually stop? It kind of feels like fighting our own minds, doesn't it? Well, imagine your mind as a bowl of cloudy, dirty water. Step 1, notice the water is dirty, meaning recognize you're feeling negative emotions. Step 2, realize that stirring the water, trying to overanalyze and think your way out of it, only makes it so much worse. And step 3, just let it sit. If you just leave it alone and remain present, the dirt naturally settles and the water becomes crystal clear all over again. Here's another way to picture it. Thinking is exactly like quicksand. Frantically struggling, constantly evaluating, trying to logically wrestle your way out of a problem, it only pulls you under faster. Fighting your thoughts is totally counterproductive. By letting go and simply noticing your state without actively engaging with it, your mind's natural buoyancy brings you right back to the surface, right back to clarity and peace. Section 4. Inspiration versus desperation, and how we can thrive without overthinking. Now, I know what some of you are probably wondering right now. If I stop actively thinking, won't I just become a lazy couch potato? Actually, not at all. See, when we create goals out of desperation, which almost always comes from overthinking, they feel heavy. They're driven by scarcity and stress. They're really just a means to an end. But when we stop overthinking and tap into our natural thoughts, we create goals out of pure inspiration. These are light, they're expansive, they're joyful, and they are an end in themselves. You don't lose your drive. You actually uncover your true, boundless motivation. Which perfectly leads us to unconditional creation. This means creating something purely for the sheer joy of doing it, not as a means to get money, fame, or validation. When you create unconditionally, guided by natural thought rather than forced, anxious thinking, you instantly generate those positive feelings of abundance and fulfillment that we usually spend our entire lives chasing. And our final section, Section 5, following your intuition and trusting your inner GPS. Now that we're creating from a place of pure inspiration, how do we trust our inner GPS to actually take action without falling right back into that quicksand of overthinking? Well, think of a piano. There are no wrong keys on a piano, just different experiences. When you stop overthinking, you realize there's no absolute right or wrong decision in life that you constantly need to painfully agonize over. There are just different paths to explore. And honestly, this relieves the immense pressure of having to make the perfect choice. Just hit a key and see how it sounds. When you live and work like this, you enter what the Japanese call mushin, or the flow state. It's a mind completely free of random thoughts, anger, fear, and ego. It allows for peak instinctive performance. This is exactly what elite Olympic athletes experience. Our absolute best performance, our highest level of thriving, actually happens in a state of non-thinking. Crazy, right? So the crucial point here is brilliantly summarized by this famous Henry Ford quote. Whether you think that you can or can't, you're right. You already possess the answers deep down. Your intuition knows exactly what to do. The only thing blocking your inner wisdom is your own ego, your fear, and that absolutely exhausting habit of overthinking everything. So I want to leave you today with a really powerful thought experiment. If you had infinite money, absolutely no fear, and you knew you wouldn't receive a single drop of recognition, what would you create? Don't overthink it. Just let the natural thought bubble up. That is your intuition speaking directly to you. The only question now is, are you brave enough to stop thinking and just go create it?